Our adventures in South America include 4 very different landscapes. It begins with the 7-colored hills of Purmamarca in Argentina, then to the otherworldly Valley of the Moon and the Atacama Desert in Chile, then to Patagonia and the Moreno Glacier in Los Glaciares National Park in Argentina, and finally to the glacier-carved landscape of Torres del Paine National Park in Chile. From Seattle, we fly to Buenos Aires, Argentina via Dallas. We'll cover a lot of ground this trip, first to the Atacama Desert in the north of Argentina and Chile, and then to Patagonia in the south. We meet the rest of the group for lunch in Buenos Aires and then head to the airport for a flight to Salta in northern Argentina. We collect our bags and meet our driver at Salta. Then we head north to the little village of Purmamarca. After 3 long flights back to back, we're happy to see La Comarca, our home for the next 2 nights. In the morning, we're ready for breakfast and exploring the Purmamarca area. The geology of this area is, to say the least, complex. At various times, this area was at the bottom of a vast sea. Then it was a lake, and sediments were also deposited from river currents. Each layer of sediment is a different color depending on its mineral content. Red is iron, green is copper, yellow is sulfur. We're in the southern Andes, in geological time, a young mountain range. They took form starting about 145 million years ago in the Cretaceous period, when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. The sedimentary rock that had been accumulating for millions of years was uplifted, folded, and faulted as the Nazca Plate slid beneath the South American Plate. So today, the village of Purmamarca sits at 7,625 feet above sea level. Behind the town is the Hill of 7 Colors, which contains all the colors and shows the effects of the tectonic upheavals. Pink is 3 to 4 million year old red clay and mudstone. White is 400 million year old limestone from the bottom of an ocean. Brownish purple is 80 to 90 million years old, with lead and calcium carbonate. The brown layers are the most recent, only 1 to 2 million years old, containing manganese. The red layers are 3 to 4 million year old clay with iron oxide. The shades of green are 600 million year old copper oxide. The yellow mustard colored layer is 80 to 90 million year old sandstone with sulfur. And all these layers have been twisted, tilted, and rearranged by tectonic forces. Looking at all these rocks, it would seem that only the hardiest of plants and animals could survive here, if at all. But where there's water, the barren landscape gives way to green plants. Before the tourists arrived, it must have been a hard-scramble life of subsistence farming and herding. But the plants that have adapted to this harsh climate thrive here. The hairs on this cactus collect water from the morning fog. Long spines protect this prickly pear from grazers. Where there are flowers and seeds, there'll be birds and insects. We're headed north on Route 9 to Purmamarca. When we cross the Tropic of Capricorn, this is the most southerly latitude at which the sun is directly overhead on the December solstice. Among the souvenir sellers is this lady selling earthenware. Agriculture hasn't changed much here in the last 100 years. Purmamarca is a city of 12,000 residents and the capital of Purmamarca district. At noon, the doors of the bell tower open and a full-sized automated wooden statue of San Francisco Salerno appears and gives the sign of the cross. Unfortunately, you can see from the clock that we missed him. The monument to the heroes of independence is another prominent feature of Purmamarca. The two bas-reliefs on the sides depict Indians and gauchos on horseback fighting together against the Spanish colonial army. The central figure is either Pedro Sacompa, who brought the news of independence from Spain to the area, or, as the local people insist, is Diego Villapoco, an Indian chief who was a leader in the war. In any case, it's time for lunch at Matias Restaurant. Back on Route 9, we have to stop at this souvenir shop with a huge llama out front. And there's some of the real thing, too. Our next stop is a pre-Inca fortification, or Pucará. From this strategic location, the Cambrada people and later the Incas controlled the Purmamarca Valley. On top of the hill is an Inca-style monument built in 1935 to honor the first archaeologists who worked the site. Just inside the gate of the Pucará is a botanical garden. It is dedicated to indigenous plants, mainly cactus. There are several species of prickly pear and many towering species. A hummingbird landed on one of the large cactus. It was an appropriately named giant hummingbird, the largest hummingbird with a wingspan of 8.5 inches. In the morning, we're driving to Chile over some of the most convoluted roads I've ever been on. There are roadside shrines along the way to protect the truckers on this treacherous highway. The summit of Hama Pass is 4,170 meters, or 13,680 feet. Near the top is a hummingbird, again appropriately named, the Andean Hill Star. On the other side of the pass, we're still in Argentina. We stopped to photograph two cousins of the llama, the guanaco and the vicuña. Next stop is Salinas Grandes, a large salt flat at about 11,000 feet. The salt is mined for sodium, potassium, and lithium. For the tourist, there's a restaurant made entirely of salt. Even the tables and chairs. The salt flat is a crust of salt floating on a lake of briny water. Long trenches are cut in the crust and the water is allowed to evaporate. The salt is then harvested. Time for lunch at Pastos Chicos, but there was no spaghetti. Pastos means pasture. The mountains in the distance are in Chile. We clear Argentine customs and are in Chile. The landscape changes rather abruptly. The hills look volcanic. They're yellow with Peruvian feathergrass, just about the only thing that will grow at this altitude. Along the road, there are some small salt lakes. And the road flattens out, as we'd expect in a desert landscape. But looming ahead is a cone-shaped volcano, not what you'd expect in the desert. It's Linconabur, and 19,409 feet high. On the other side is Bolivia.